Hey, I'm Heslin Kim with Polymath, and I'm here with
Luke from Comma Ventures.
Comma Ventures. Could you tell me a little bit more about your biz?
Absolutely. So Comma Ventures is a blockchain fund that invests in both pre-token equity as well as token. So one of my other partners is the former head of LG Ventures China. So a traditional technology VC firm that's done very well with investments in Kabam, Tantan, Hanbitsoft, and many others. So my partner actually recently just left LG Ventures to focus full-time on blockchain. In terms of my own background, MIT, McKinsey, Airbnb, where I was doing growth, and have also worked in a variety of startups, from anywhere being the first hire at a seed stage company to companies as large as Airbnb. And in between a lot of my startup roles, I've done a lot of consulting work with companies like Madison Square Garden, as well as Walmart around technology and digital strategy. I'm also part of Rocket Fuel. So we are a blockchain investment group with a lot of deep corporate experience. So with companies like Snapchat, Salesforce, Uber, as well as many others, including in the blockchain space as well, where we have folks from the product lead of Decentraland, CTO of Oasis, as well as the first developer hire at Chia.
Stacked. That is a stacked resume, my friend. With so much experience, what kind of projects are you guys most focused on these days?
Yeah, so I think for us, in the past, I think we've been looking at a lot of protocols just because, I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done on the infrastructure level around, scalability and also I think usability in terms of, especially for DApp developers, right? In terms of DevOps, in terms of developer tools, so they can build more effectively. But I think we are reaching a point where for a lot of these protocol use cases, there are now 5, if not more, different protocols tackling the same use case, and so it's starting to get crowded, right? It's starting to get a point where these protocols are now investing into the apps on the condition they build on them to justify their valuations.
Coming from the US, you see a lot of talk about security tokens and utility tokens. What's your stance on that?
Yeah, so I think with security tokens, it's fairly clear, right? You're basically tokenizing either existing securities or more illiquid assets, and providing both fractional ownership as well as a bigger, I think, addressable investor base for a lot of these assets. With utility tokens, I think we're at an interesting time, right, where the SEC, I think, with the Ethereum ruling, has recognized that it is not a security, even though they can conduct an ICO, which I think is a milestone for a lot of blockchain projects. I think kind of longer term, I think underlying protocols aside, for DApps, there hasn't been kind of a lasting success, but also two, like a sustained use case for a utility token for DApps. I think that's something we'll definitely figure out, given that when you think back to the .com days, right? A lot of the business models that we have now of VC field paid user acquisition, as well as the freemium model, didn't really have lasting success and success at scale until recently.
How do you feel like the security token offering market might help shift what we're doing now in the cryptocurrency space?
Yeah, I mean, I think securities in aggregate, right, is a massive market in the, I think, double-digit trillions. So I do think once the regulatory framework is better laid out for security tokens, we're going to see a lot of activity there.
Are you familiar with Polymath?
Absolutely.
What's your take on what we've been doing lately, and how do you feel about our potential?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty excited about what you guys are doing in terms of laying the foundation for security tokens, right, with your ST20 standard. I think that's absolutely needed in the space, especially because I think on the security token side of things, you're going to have a lot more teams with heavy, industry and or financial experience that don't necessarily know the technology. And so having a technology partner like Polymath, I think is absolutely crucial.
And seeing so many projects come through and approaching you guys, how many would you say that you see that are potentially going to be security tokens?
So I think we're actually seeing an interesting trend where the projects are issuing two tokens, one utility token and also a security token. And I think longer term that will be a bigger trend because right now it's a big question around when you invest into the blockchain project super early in seed equity. What happens to that equity, right? Because I think for the most part, I think a lot of funds are doing that to get the best terms on the token. But there's been very little M&A activity in this space, but I think that will also pick up.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. Is there any way that people can find out more about Comma Ventures or yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to our website, commaventures.com. You can find me, on LinkedIn or just Luke at commaventures.com.
Great. Thanks so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, man.